Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Cosmos with Robin. My name is Robin Fritz. I'm in Seattle, Washington, and today we are going to talk more about working with our crystal partners. So grab a crystal, any crystal nearby, and join the conversation. We're going to be talking about questions from last week's broadcast on crystals and any other questions you might have today. So again, welcome to Coffee and Cosmos with Robin. My name is Robin Fritz. I'm an intuitive and spiritual consultant and certified past life regression specialist based in Seattle, Washington. So today, as we talk about crystals and our crystal partners, if you have a crystal nearby, please grab it. If you don't, and even if you do, you're welcome to tap in and use Fallon during this time together with each other. So welcome to the community, and let's start out the broadcast today with a quick guided meditation or just connection with the crystal Fallon. Fallon is citrine Lemurian quartz, and each week on these broadcasts, we connect with him however our intuition works most strongly. So you may see pictures, hear him chat with you, feel his energy, or just know that you're connected with him. But this is a time that the Om Times community has created for us to be together. So let go of the cares of the day, connect with Fallon and with the community. Take your attention to the top of your head. Mind, body, and spirit coming together, clearing out. So as you breathe down from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, just feel the connection with Fallon, feel the cares of the days melting away, and feel the connection to the community. So top of your head, breathe down your face, your shoulders, your chest, your hips, your knees, and your feet. The top of your head to the bottom of your feet. Right? And now as you're breathing up, feel the energy moving up from your feet, past your knees, your hips, your chest, your shoulders, your face, and the top of your head. So here's Fallon. Great. Thanks for joining, everybody. Thank you all for joining me today. So every week I try to have a little subject for us to talk about, to share. And then I go back through the broadcast afterwards and write down questions. I try to respond here. Sometimes I just can't for some reason. But last week we had a great time talking about crystals and our crystal partners. And so what I did was go back and write down some questions that people had last week. And I thought this will be a great opportunity for us to share working with crystals together, and kind of what that could mean for us, and just having a good time together this week. So hello everybody, thank you for joining us wherever you are around the world. This is an awesome opportunity that Om Times has created for us to just come together and share here at Humanity Healing. So hi from everyone, welcome to Smoky Seattle, Washington. We are still dealing with wildfire smoke here. So apologize for my hoarse voice. And I want to jump into questions from last week. And you are welcome to ask questions here. I'm going to show you a couple of crystals that'll help answer questions from last week. And you may find the questions you're asking this week were already asked last week. So let's just jump into the questions. So we talked a lot about working with crystals and how to find the crystal that works for you. And really, my approach to crystals is very simple. It's the same approach I have to all life, is that, thank you, Chris, as soon as the air clears, everyone in the Pacific Northwest will start feeling better. So hello, too, from Germany. So, excuse me, I'll have to take some coffee here quick. So my approach to all life is simply to look at other beings as equals to us, and that they have things to share with us just as we have things to share with them. So for me, going out and working with a crystal or with a house, helping people with a space clearing, whatever. It's really a connection to an equal being and what they have to share with us. So I don't go out and say, I just want a crystal for this. That's one way to start out. What I like to do is to go out and meet crystals and say, hey, what have you got to share with me today? Or what's up with you? And that's a fun way for you to go to a crystal shop or even to look online at crystals and just get a feel for crystals that appeal to you for one reason or another. There are great crystal books out there. I love the Judy Hall series, but there are others where you can see you can spend a whole evening after work just looking at pictures of crystals and what appeals to you and what doesn't. But a couple of questions from last week I'd like to dig into. And one was a listener who said that she didn't feel anything when she looks at crystals. And I think she was a little concerned that there might be something wrong. But in fact, I think what she is someone whose intuition works towards knowing. So there are four main ways our intuition works. We may see things, so we may see colors or impressions, or if you're looking for crystals, your intuition works towards clairvoyance. One may just be shining really bright on the table and trying to attract your attention that way. Other crystals will chat with you, and so you may hear them talking with you, and that's what we call clairaudience. Clairfeeling or clairsentience is feeling their energy. So you may, I know that people, when they see Fallon online, even can feel his energy. So if you're that way and you're going, oh my gosh, you are feeling his energy. Time and space are not a hindrance to using your intuition. So yes, no matter where you are in the world, if you're a person whose intuition runs towards feelings, you can feel Fallon's energy by looking at him here or even by thinking about him. But if your intuition runs towards knowing, where you just know something, that's really hard because it's like, am I making up a story? Or I can't connect to something, so I must not be doing it right. And no, that's just how your intuition works. And you need to work with it to find out when it's trying to tell you something. And I know because years ago, when my intuition was opening back up, clair knowing was a very strong ability. And I had to distinguish that from, am I making this up? Is this a story I'm making up, or is this real? So don't feel bad if you don't feel something when you look at a crystal. Instead, think of it as knowing something, and you may just move on to a different crystal and see if it changes, because sometimes the crystals that we're looking at may not resonate with us right at that moment because we're needing something else than that particular crystal has to share. And Jesse, you're completely right. Everyone has a different way of experiencing their intuition, and play with it and have fun with it. Eventually, you're a combination of a number of different intuitive skills, including smelling and tasting, which are not my favorites because I happen to smell mold, which, I mean, who wants that as an intuitive skill? So that was answering that question. Someone else asked about crystals for balance, especially balance and grounding. And there are many, many crystals for that. And again, you can Google it online. You can go to a crystal store and ask a crystal dealer what crystals are good for balance. But quartz is traditionally good for pretty much anything. But the darker crystals like hematite or columbite, which is my favorite, a lot of people like black tourmaline. Those are all good for grounding and balance. Obsidian and jet, also black crystals. And you may go to a store and ask, and you may find that one crystal is just not connecting with you, whereas another one is really drawing you in, and another one may just be too strong for you. And it's not a reflection on you. It's just that crystal isn't working well with you. And that's fine because there are many, many crystals to choose from. and how your intuition and how your energy body is working that day will help you decide which crystals are best for you at that particular time. I've also had people tell me that a crystal stopped working for them, that they could feel its energy for a year or 2 years, and then all of a sudden they couldn't feel it anymore. So they figured the crystal was dead or in some way not compatible with them anymore. Well, it may be that the crystal, like us, is ready to move on to someone else, but it could also mean that how your intuition and your energy body is working at that particular time means you experience crystals or that particular crystal in a different way. So you may not feel its energy, but it's still there working with you. So don't just discount a crystal that you suddenly feel differently than others, because it could be your intuition growing and expanding and changing. And so experiment with how your intuition works. But if there comes a time when a crystal and you feel like it's time to change and to move on, then make that space open for that crystal to do that, and for you to do that and find something else that works for you. I hope that answers that question. Other crystals that I like for balance and for clearing, kyanite, and I've shown kyanite before. This is a really big slab and it's raw kyanite. Raw kyanite tends to shatter very easily, so you're not going to carry it around. But when clients come for sessions, I'll have them take off their jewelry and put it on a piece of kyanite. And at the end of the session, they're going, oh my gosh, it feels really great. Kyanite is great for clearing everything. And you can also get it in polished, in small forms, polished. You can carry it around in your pocket. It's a great clearing crystal. That's like one of its superpowers. Here's a favorite of mine, and this will answer another question. This is, I do things backwards here. Okay, there we go. Holding it up in front of my face. This is a selenite slab. Isn't that awesome? I saw this piece in my head and I went to my favorite crystal store, Earthlight Rocks and Gems in Kirkland, Washington, and told Kim, I see this piece of selenite in my head. And she goes, oh, they're over there. So selenite slab, or they even form them into little plates like teacups or dessert plates. Selenite is a wonderful crystal for clearing anything. I love it because I like shiny things and bright things, and it is beautiful, isn't it? But selenite is great for clearing out things. But here's the thing, you don't get it wet, because if you get it wet, it will melt and then you'll lose it. And that brings up another question that people had last week. Someone said she was washing her hands and a hematite ring, I think it was, broke and shattered. And she says, well, that must not be good. Well, that doesn't mean anything bad in terms of energy or whatever you might think of. It just means that hematite is soft. And I know, Tanya, I do too. I love selenite. And I have some selenite wands that someone gave me, and I have a 55-year-old jade tree, so I've hung the selenite wands from the jade tree. You can get it in tiny little chunks. Just be careful not to get it wet, like I said. So someone said they had a piece of hematite that shattered, and it didn't shatter because she did something wrong or that there's something really negative in her energy system or something negative with the hematite. Hematite happens to be a soft crystal, even though its powerful energetic quality is grounding and balanced. It tends to be soft and somewhat brittle and will easily shatter. That's just the nature of that particular stone. So don't think you did something wrong. It's just what happens sometimes. So I hope that gives you some ideas there. So somebody else asked for the best places to buy crystals. Now, I am very clear on this, that crystals, we mine them, we take them out of the ground, we do all kinds of things with them. And Sometimes they aren't treated as well as they could be. Sometimes they're hurt or injured metaphysically in the mining process. They can be healed from that by giving them space to heal and inviting them to heal, and also by being taken care of and resold again by dealers who know that crystals are alive and have rights and responsibilities just like we do. So be very careful about the people you buy crystals from. If you go into a crystal store and you feel like, oh, this place just doesn't feel right, then I would suggest just walking out again, because any crystal you might buy from that store might be damaged and might not be able to, get well, or may take a really long time to get well. And that's why last week I mentioned that there are clients who bring their crystals here who are ill or damaged in some ways because of their previous care. And then they just hang out with Fallon and the other crystals, and sometimes they get well and go back to their places, and sometimes they're ready for new people, and sometimes, just like us, their lifespan ends, and that's just the way it is. Is it true that sunlight energizes the stones? Okay, so if you're going to talk to me about crystals, I'm going to tell you that a lot of what people tell us about programming our crystals or clearing them or how to energize them is stuff that we made up, and not necessarily things that apply to the crystals. I think they're willing to work with us because they have really long memories, because they're very old. So they've been in their bodies for eons, whereas we've been in ours, less than 100 years for most of us. But a lot of what you hear about energizing and so on is stuff that people think is true rather than what is actually necessary, which means that crystals can easily clear themselves and do so. I keep the selenite and kyanite because I like the energy that they offer in the household, and they do support the other crystals in helping them clear themselves. And sure, you can put them in sun, you can wash them in water, you can put them in sea salt, but be careful before you do any of those things. Look up the properties of that particular crystal, because if you put an amethyst in the sunlight, it's going to fade. Other crystals, if you put in salt or in water, like the selenite, they're going to dissolve, or they're going to be damaged by the salt, simply because, hello, that's just the properties of that particular crystalline structure. It is a physical thing. Do they lose their effect if broken or chipped? Well, I hope not. And excuse me, here's the smoke bothering me again. Excuse me. Oh, no. Okay, so here's a good example, Tanya. Fallon. I knew Fallon eons ago when he was in a much different form, triple pointed on one end or terminated, and double on the other. And when they couldn't sell Fallon and everybody couldn't work with his energy, they sent him off to Brazil, and those people turned him into an 8-pound crystal ball, which just still blows my mind. So no, they're not damaged, or they're changed because there's less of them. It's kind of like us losing weight or something. But the crystal itself still stays powerful. I tried to get the pieces of Fallon that had been left in Brazil, and they thought I was a nutcase because they had a huge yard full of crystal, basically shards and dust, and that's what was left of him in his previous form. So Tanya, okay, so there's another question. What crystals to put next to our bed when we're trying to sleep? That's kind of an experimental process, because what works for someone for sleeping doesn't work for others. I know Kim Belines at Earthlight Rocks and Gems in Kirkland, Washington, was on the show regularly for a while, and she talked about celestite as helping for sleep. And I had a big, huge chunk of celestite here on my desk in my office, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And so I moved the Celestite to my bedside table, and I'm like more awake at work and I sleep better at night. So practice. So put crystals beside your bed. If you find yourself having vivid, disturbing dreams, like there's just so much going on and there's all this color and all this activity, it may be that particular crystal should be something that should be next to you during the day when you're awake, and it's too strong for you at night and keeps you awake. So try that. See if that works for you. So someone asked, do you need a crystal ball to do energy healing? No, you don't. Find a crystal that works for you. So I hope if you're listening today and you are grabbing some crystals that you have nearby, hold it in your hand and say, hey, would you like to work with me on this particular issue? For example, I need more self-confidence to speak in public. I need more patience at work. I need for my headaches to go away. And you can research those properties in crystal books, in online, and that will be a way for you to find different crystals. But no, Fallon just happens to be in the shape of a crystal ball. And look up the properties of Celestite online, Patricia. Off the top of my head, while I'm trying to cover so many things, my mind went blank. But Judy Hall's books are good, or just Google Celestite and find out. I happen to just love that beautiful piece. I consider myself part magpie, and my mind goes straight to the shiny things, and I just saw it at a crystal dealer shop, and I was like, oh, that's mine. And I loved it because of its pale blue qualities, but also it was just a fabulous piece. I'll show it again at another show, but it's off on my bedside table right now, which is a long way from where I am right here. So no, you don't need a crystal ball for healing. You can pick any crystal that feels good to you and work with it. The Selenite and Kyanite are good. I like white quartz with tourmaline rods. Try carnelian. Carnelian is traditionally a root chakra crystal, but the particular piece that I have, my clients will grab it and they'll just put it on their heart. So it acts as a heart crystal. I saw a question here. You're from England. I do not use pendulums. I'm glad that, Lorraine, that you are using one and it seems to work for you. So here's my take on pendulums, Lorraine. One is a lot of people will use pendulums, and just like you're thinking, you're wondering if it's giving you answers that you want versus what's really an answer. And I think in part that's really what happens with pendulums, because think about it. You are an energy body, okay, in this human body, and you're working with a crystal and you want something to happen, and that crystal is going to try to support that. So my response to pendulums is it's interesting that other people like them and use them. If you feel it works for you, oh my gosh, by all means, go for it. I'm all for supporting things that make our lives easier, that inspire us to be our best selves, that give us information that we can research and think on and use our intuition on to see if that's right for us. My concern with pendulums, as with anything else, is if we're relying too much on it to give us information and therefore not standing up and making that decision for ourselves. So it's like giving the power of decision making and your own personal power over to a pendulum, and thinking that you need that extra thing to make decisions for you. You don't. You need yourself strong in your own ability, and crystals will support that. But and they're partners, but they're not there to make our decisions for us. Somebody asked, when do you recharge your crystals? How do you know when to recharge? I never charge my crystals. They know what they're doing. They're alive. They've been in their bodies a lot longer than I've been in mine. So I'm a different person than other people. I don't charge my crystals. I don't even think about it. It's not in my frame of reference. What I do is I wash Fallon regularly because he gets fingerprints on him and dust. And he doesn't like that. he likes to be clean, right? And I will keep the selenite and the kyanite around because, okay, I admit it, I'm lazy and I want things to just take care of themselves. And crystals will take care of themselves. And if you support them by putting crystals around them that are known for helping to clear, you don't have to worry about things like recharging. And in fact, ask them. So, what do you feel? Do you feel like you need a water bath today for those crystals that don't melt? And that kind of thing. So, try that. And somebody else asked about, do crystals emit negative energy for some and positive energy for others? No, is my short answer. The longer answer to that is some crystals work better with certain people than other people. It's how our energy body works. It's what we need at that particular time. So you may be drawn to a particular crystal that someone else is not drawn to, and that's fine because we're all out there looking for our partners to work with, and each of us is going to find a different one. So somebody else said that crystals lose their higher vibration if not properly cared for. Well, I kind of think we all do in essence, which is one reason why I tell you to buy from really reputable people. Don't buy based on price, based on the quality of the people who are selling the crystals and how well they take care of the crystals in their shop, whether it's online or in a physical store, and how you feel about that particular place. If you think a place has a good reputation, but you go there and you just don't feel like you have a good connection to that place, then go somewhere else unless you feel that your crystal that you're looking for is really there. We're going to be talking about crystals moving forward because there's so many questions that came up. And does size matter in the effect of crystals? Absolutely not. And that's why I suggest that you go out and buy yourself a whole bunch of small crystals if you're interested, different ones, and take them home and experiment with them. That's when I discovered that I'm not particularly drawn to black tourmaline, although a lot of people like it for grounding and for protection, and they'll put it in the corners of their homes. And I'm like, not for me. And that's fine because there are so many crystals that have the same abilities to do things like clear our space or help us be grounded and balanced, help us find self-love, which is a huge purpose for rose quartz. So again, research the properties and see where they go. You know what? We are out of time again. So we're going to talk about this more. So ask more questions here. I won't be here next week. It's a holiday here in the United States. But for the crystal of the week, I want you to think of this selenite slab. I know that Kim at Earthlight Rocks and Gems has them, or selenite plates, which are cheaper. There we go. Selenite is great for clearing. It's great for balancing. Even if you had a tiny piece of it, it's a beautiful crystal. It's very supportive, very comforting. If you find, as you explore online even, and you just say, okay, I'm going to look online for crystals and I want to look at the different pictures. If you feel drawn to that particular crystal, try to get a small piece of it and see how it works with you over the course of time. And they're awesome. They're amazing companions. Like us, they are growing their souls in their bodies. Their crystal bodies just happen to last a very, very long time. And so I'm inviting you. Is our birthstone important? Only if you feel like it is, Candace. I have a garnet ring that I bought in high school. And, you know, it's something that people came up with, that this is your birthstone for that particular month. If you like it, that's great. Go for it. This is a turquoise necklace that actually called to me from Montana. I think I have lots of stories to share with you coming up, and then it'll give you some ideas on how you find yours. This is aquamarine, and this just goes to show that you shouldn't go shopping with a dragon, because this is a dragon pendant with Preseli Bluestone, which is a foundation stone in Wales. And last question, salt lamps. I love salt lamps, Himalayan salt lamps. I have two here in my office, three in my living area and in my office for clients, one in the bedroom, and I'm going to be buying a gray one. I have a purple one, and I like the gray. Again, just like crystals, make sure you're buying from a place where the salt lamp just really speaks to you, where you're really drawn into it. I love Soleil Wellness, Solay Wellness. I bought all my salt lamps from them. They're, I can't even remember where they are. I think Indiana, but I'm not sure. Lovely stuff. Fair trade. Look for fair trade salt lamps. Taking salt out of a mine is the same as taking a crystal out of a mine. It can be a very harsh process. So you want to feel like the people that are doing it have the best intention for the salt or for the crystal. So this afternoon on my radio show at the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World, 2:00 at ohmtimes.com, I'm going to be talking with an author who has a book out called The Art of Healing with Crystals. So join us this afternoon and see what she has to say. I admit up front that my viewpoint on crystals and working with crystals is not the typical one. But then again, that's just how I am. And I invite you to experiment with your crystals. But call into the radio show, listen live. We do take callers, any other questions you have. And I'll be going through this and writing down some more questions. We're going to be playing with crystals and other things at upcoming shows, because this is the place that we can do that in. And again, my name is Robin Fritz. You can find me at my website, robinfritz.com. I offer personal and business intuition, mediumship for people and animals, talking with deceased people and animals, animal communication, space clearing, past life and between life regression, a soul clearing process, and of course, energy healing. And thank you all so much for joining us today. Fallon and I love being here with you. We love sharing a different perspective. I love hearing your perspectives. So just let me know what you'd like to talk about coming up. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. Cross your hands on your heart. Get yourself grounded back into your body. Close down that crown chakra that tends to be wide open, and connected with Fallon. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like this page, the Om Times radio page, and my page, The Practical Intuitive, Robin M. Fritz, and we will see you 2 weeks from now. Take care. Thanks.